I just had to cut it off because Instagram limits me to an hour here for some reason, and all I have to do to continue is just do another hour. So, anywho, I'm going to be inviting the gentleman that we just had on, and hopefully we'll get after it soon. There we go.
How's it
All
going?
right. Good, good. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that we need to uh, we need to basically be willing to let go of the past and be able to forgive for the past and say, yeah, we have issues today we got to deal with, and we'll deal with those issues as we
Yeah,
go forward. But um, what 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 matters in a person is and it's not even how good or bad the individual is. What matters is that individual aligned with the good. And it
yeah,
doesn't have anything to do with who they want to sleep with. It doesn't have anything to do with what they want to call themselves in terms of gender or whatever kind of individualist, semi-individualist constructs they want to come up with to say that they're different. And it doesn't matter, yeah, what race or even what religion. Like there are good and bad people in all religions too. And I believe that the truth and like sort of getting at what you said earlier, I believe that the ultimate truth of how to live as a human being in the ideal way is a universal one, and it converges to a central point. And there's a lot of philosophy and work that has to happen in order to get to that point, but more or less, you can live that way. And I thought about this for a
thank
long
you.
time, and it makes sense to me in two ways. One, uh, well, what I thought about was, what if someone never heard of the Bible or of Jesus Christ or of that? Would they still be saved? And the answer to that is sort of reflected in this other point. The truth that the Bible is trying to articulate exists with or without the book.
Yeah,
The book,
100.
like it's like a car manual. The car manual is a reflection of this actual thing that exists in the world, and it will help you navigate that and tell you details about it and give you names for stuff. But it's not the actual thing. It's an attempt to document a reflection of the actual thing. So it's sort of two
Yeah,
layers of translation away from the truth. And so it's going to be
exactly.
an inference game, anyways. You're going to have to piece things together for yourself. But I do believe that ultimately that all converges in a central ethos of we are all given a unique, creative, and productive. We are all given a unique, creative, and productive capacity as human beings, and if God is the creator, then the godly thing to do is to create, and so we have that divinity within all of us, and um, we have to live it out. We have to treat each other with the understanding and respect that goes with everyone having that. And if
Very
we
true.
act that way, that pretty much that is the golden rule. Treat people the way you would want to be treated, which means you recognize everything about yourself in them, and also you're willing to understand on the other side of it. I'm an asshole to some people because I want people to be an asshole to me when I'm being an asshole. Like
Yeah,
I actually see it as an extension of the golden rule. It's just accountability. Like
yeah,
if I'm not handling my ways, deviate, like disrupt me, let me know. And there was this one lady at a gas station who was just kind of being rude, and I said in a semi serious way, "Is everything okay?" Like not just in a nice way, but like, "Is everything okay?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah," and she like went back to being, pleasant with me, but she was being kind of snarky, and I was like, and she was like, "Oh, my bad." Like I was just sort of, she was like carried off in her own thing, and I was just like, "What's going
yeah.
on?" And so I do believe in that, but anywho, I don't. You got family over and stuff. I don't want to keep you too long. We can definitely do
Um,
another podcast sometime.
that's up to you, man. I'm good for a little bit longer if you want to. They all
Yeah,
just
yeah.
went to the store really quick, so
Okay, yeah, I got time. I got time for sure. So, so do you have raccoons as pets?
I do. So the story with Bandit and the two babies, it flooded like 5 months ago here in Missouri. I was out fishing, so I fish as much as I can. She
Smart
was
man.
separated. She was, yes, as far away from people as possible, as many hours a day. But they were separated, so I rescued the babies with my coat. I rescued her. I brought her back to the house. I let them stay in the garage in a little Tupperware container overnight. Whenever I left the side garage door open, and they never left. They ended up building a home underneath the back patio. Um, Bandit comes to the door. I leave food and water out there for them, but she comes to the door every night. She says hi. She loves on me. She snuggles. The babies are good with me. Carl is the most recent one that I posted. He was one that just started coming around, and he noticed they were okay with me, and he's slowly warming up to me as well. I'm actually kind of waiting for her to pop her little head around to ask for food now that it's dark. But yeah, it's one of those friendships that develop that you never expect. And honestly, it's one of the best things that's happened since I've been here. They're very misunderstood little creatures, and they're super lovable. Tons of personality. Tons of personality.
That's cool. Yeah, I was kind of wanting to ask about that because thinking about raccoon outside of when they're being, whatever, going through your trash or like the normal ways you think about it. Like if you had them as a pet, what would that be like when you have something with thumbs and like a lot of the similar like functions as us, and they could come
It's
and
like a child.
they can pet you and stuff, and so
Yeah,
it's like a child.
yeah, it's kind of like having a child. Yeah. Um, their hands are super tiny, so it wouldn't be kind of like you would expect. But yeah, it's like having a child. Um, a lot more than people would think. They walk on their hind legs like we do, and like use their hands just the same way. And they pick up things. They go through things. It's like having a dog that has human capabilities. They're very smart, super smart. They know that if I'm not sitting out front on the bucket having a cigarette, or there's not food out there, to go to the door and scratch or go to my window. They always know how to get a hold of us. Just very, very smart creatures. They're also kind of not territorial, but I think Bandit is more territorial because she doesn't want so many of them here. She's probably selfish in a little ways.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like it. It's an unexpected friendship that's actually brought me a lot of joy, surprisingly.
Well, that's really cool, man.
And then there's Fred. So I'll try and get a video of Fred. Fred, he's a black bear. So I live on the edge of a 100-acre preserve. So there's wild animals everywhere, stuff like that. He's a black bear. He comes by like once a week. Super friendly. I came out back one night when I was feeding the raccoons, and there's a black bear like 2 feet from me. So instead of like getting scared, I just kind of put my hand out with food, like, here you go. And he was super friendly. And like any animal, you feed it, they come back.
Yeah, something about living and needing food.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that dude, that's so cool. That's so cool. You got some raccoons, you got a bear. Yeah, that's a lot. I've got a cat who just had three little kittens. And hang on a second.
Oh, look at that. They're always cute when they're small. That's when they get you.
Yep. Yeah, he's they're just yesterday was 3 weeks, and this is the oldest, Garfield. There's two more. I'll put him back. Anywho,
Yeah, I
so we're
think.
just adjusting to very normal pets right now, but the raccoon is pretty dope.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and that wasn't even something I expected. Like, I was just trying to do something nice and save her and her babies, and it turned into something kind of cool. You're breaking up.
I love. It's really touching, man. Like that you're the way you talk about them as an unexpected friendship and the connection. Like I don't know, it's cool. Like you said, you wouldn't expect a raccoon as a pet, and especially because they're smart, the relationship can be have a little more depth or something to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just think that's really touching and cool, and I appreciate you, sharing it. Not just
Thank you.
sharing a random, interesting little story about something funny they did, but talking about like what they meant to you coming into your life and everything. I appreciate you sharing that, man. It means a lot.
Well,
Um,
and especially even now, like with my grandmother being sick, just turning 40, like my daughter just turned 18, going off to college, got all these major things happening. That little connection and distraction actually helped in a lot of ways, if that makes sense.
that makes total sense. Total sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, have you? dealt with in your own life or with people around you, addiction? And if so,
Yeah.
like what have you seen? What has that been like? Any thoughts you have on that? And society wide, also any implications you have there?
So, shit. Hold on, my headphones are gonna die. Let me shut off my Bluetooth.
I can hear you.
So yeah, alcoholism ran pretty large in my family amongst like my aunts, uncles, stuff like that. Drug addiction. There's drug addiction. I had my accident in late 2000, early 2001. Um, I had 26 broken bones. I was in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks. I had to relearn to walk over the span of 16 to 18 months. It was fucked up. So, like everybody else, all they did was they threw painkillers at it. So I battled that for about 2.5, 3 years before I finally said enough was enough, and I couldn't do it anymore. And it's rough. Um, Never in a million years did I would go through something like that, much less anybody else. And seeing it firsthand, while a lot of addicts choose that for themselves and choose that way to go, some of them are so far gone they don't know another way and need extra help, where other ones are smart enough, like me, and can recognize faults and pull themselves out of it. Um, every individual is different when it comes to that type of thing. And then it also breaks down to whether they really want the help or not. A lot of addicts are so far gone, they're comfortable with just being fucked up as long as they have what they need. You know what I mean? And like for me, I was at the point where I was waking up and I was taking 10 lower tabs in the morning just to start my day and taking a total of like 20 to 25 a day just to function, not even get fucked up at that point. You know what I mean? And it was one of the worst experiences of my life, but one of the most eye-opening. I'm very grateful that I was able to completely function normally through all of it. I was still running my business, still being an amazing father, still doing everything else. Luckily, I had my business, so I wasn't scrounging for anything or trying to come up with money to get the supplies. The government was giving them to me. That was before they regulated them. They were giving me 300 of them a month. So, I mean, it wasn't like I was hurting to go get the stuff. Um, I think that is a very sad and major plight on Americans that should be addressed. In Did I lose you? Hello?
A second.
I think it's my connection. Oh, I just got to move every once in a while. My connection goes in and out.
No worries.
But I think that's a major thing in America that isn't addressed the way it should be. Like the tactics they use to battle it, their answer just give them other drugs to get off the drugs they're on, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There
methadone
there are
for heroin
programs and
addicts and stuff like that.
exactly. And I mean, yes, there are ways for people to seek like psychological help for the dangers and help cope and shit. So far out of the average addict's reach that it literally doesn't matter. And it's so hard for an average American who has a problem to get the proper help they need. That's why it's such an epidemic in this country. I honestly think that addiction and drug abuse is bigger of a pandemic than COVID is in this country, to be honest.
No, I agree with you, man. I think not even just substance addiction, but addiction, I think is just a
Yeah,
giant unaddressed problem in our society. And some people can be functioning addicts and still keep their lives together fairly well while struggling with using a substance to escape and try to get away from life. But Um, yeah. So for many, many different reasons or many different ways we have addictions we struggle with. And I think we do need to face it. We need to have, getting into the politics side of it, we need to reorient how we deal with drugs and all that stuff and focus on treating addiction because that is the underlying cause that crosses so many things. I'm in favor of giving people like money every year that they could put towards healthcare expenses, and ideally that would translate to mental health services and counseling. And if you had access to that from the time you're about 18 on, that would be a much better way to go. I'm a believer in the free market, but I do believe that obviously if you're poor, the free market doesn't serve you, and the only way to and if we are going to have any anti-poverty program, it has to be something that just handles the issue of a lack of resources, but doesn't manipulate your behavior. Because our current welfare system tells you you'll get help while you're knocked off your feet and really struggling. But once you try to better yourself and get a higher paying job, those benefits go by or leave faster than they got there in the first place and faster than you can replace them. And so we put people in a situation where they'd be better off not helping themselves instead of having it where you can always help yourself. So on the healthcare front, if you could have a system that mimics free market mechanisms but solves that problem, that's a good way to go. And a universal health savings account is one way to do that because it gives all the consumers the ability to choose for themselves what they want to use that money for, but everything else about the system stays the same and undisrupted. And so it's an example of like left, right, fuse it together, you get this cool kind of a welfare system that mimics the free market type of a thing. That's one example of many where the moderate approach isn't just for all the self-evident reasons the best way to go, but it actually can help illuminate different ways of thinking about policy by, instead of saying one is right and the other's wrong, or one is right and the other's wrong.
God, this phone sucks. Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. Come off real quick and then bring it back on.
Stupid phone. Hey,
There
can
we
you
go.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Everything's good.
Service out here sucks so bad.
It's okay. It's unfortunate and frustrating, obviously, from your end having to deal with that. But I'm just here. I'm sitting here chilling, so I ain't tripping.
Yeah. So
Anywho,
but to touch kind of on what you were saying, though, I agree that the universal healthcare and welfare system does work to an extent, but by time a person is eligible to actually receive these benefits, they're so far gone that it's not beneficial for these systems to be in place. It's like, for instance, for someone to physically get like food assistance or anything like that, they literally have to make nothing. So, for instance, like single mothers, single fathers, people who struggle and barely make it week to week because they make, you know, $700 a week and they have to pay for everything. These people overqualify by far for what it actually takes to get these assistance programs. Or if they do qualify for these assistance programs, it's almost not worth it, because instead of like where if she didn't work at all, she'd get $2,000 a month assistance, because she's working, she gets $200. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she's making $1,400 or something.
Yeah, I think it's very, very biased, and that whole system needs to be revised. You know what I mean? I think there should be certain circumstances where, yes, if a single mother is working, she's making fucking, say, $4,000 a month, her bills and everything come out to like $3,800. She should be entitled to just as much assistance as somebody who chose to stay home and do nothing, because she's fucking doing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's for healthcare, for assistance, like social services, this country has lacked a lot in those areas. Sorry, big ass spider. I hate spiders, but
No, you're good.
It's that's a whole nother issue, and I think that's also touches base back to where we were talking about a whole subcategory of people, because we go so far with things, has almost hindered their growth as a community, because we don't set standards on what is allowed for services and what's not. It's just there's services. You have the choice to either work and get a little bit and pray you get by, or you can do nothing and sit on your ass and live like a fat rat off the government. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Where it deviates for me, and this is where it's cool how philosophy and the world and the ideal way to sort of operate with human systems, it all comes together a little bit. I believe in equality under the law, and when we have a welfare system that says you are doing badly, we're going to give you money, but you're doing great, we're going to take money from you, is violating equality under the law. You're literally treating citizens differently based off of their behaviors. And so whatever system we have, if it can be behavior neutral and just give you the help and have like an underlying infrastructure of help, but your choices and your actions and everything else is still up to you, that would be a better system where people can just, it's still your responsibility to help you, and the system's just there to fill in the gap. But more importantly, it's not taking the money away from you, the benefits away from you once you do well for yourself. It's going to be there to support you. And if you make enough money, eventually you're paying more in taxes than you are getting from any of those benefits programs. So as long as it's getting you going the right direction, it'll all pay for itself in the end. The issue is, like you said, we have, in some cases, like where you live in the same home with your grandma and your mom, or your grandma and your dad or whatever, and you guys have all been on welfare for multiple generations, and the way instead of evolving intergenerational skills around creating things, productivity, building businesses, or just discipline and building a home and creating a family or whatever, it's designed around scamming the system and getting what you can out from the system. And I've dealt with people in my own life where I was going to college and I was figuring out how to pay for, textbooks and stuff. I had some financial assistance from the government, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But this person I was talking to knew all of the ways to lie to the city college to get as much free shit as possible. And I was like, and was telling me to do it, to adopt that. And I just saw a giant gap in the way I was raised and what values were taught to me and how I would approach the situation. It's like, even if all that stuff is there, I'm not going to lie just to get free stuff. Like, I'm not going to lie to get stuff. I'm not, let alone free stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it just wasn't something I was willing to even participate in on any level. And for someone else, they were taught and I saw this with job interviews and everything else. It was across situations, and they were focused around being the thing or doing the thing the right way, but manipulating it so you can get the most out of it without any actual effort and like in an indirect way. And so, and so you got to disrupt that in the good sense, where you got to get people that have been taught that by their families, show them that if you actually work for your own money, it's a lot better. And if our system was designed to where you are in a always the choice to go and work to better your
Oh my-
life is still there.
Yeah. Well, and then like
It's not
on
being
top of all of these systems, like one that can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. And then like another system on top of all these, which we probably won't touch too much face on because that's a whole show by itself, is like the family court system today and how biased it is and money hungry. A lot of people will hate me for saying that it's very, very gender biased towards females, which I agree with that because the statistics prove that it is. And instead of being factual to where people are just good co-parents and parents in general, it's geared more towards the money because the government gets a percentage of it. So rather than allow father, because yes, it's not always the mother that's winning out and all this shit, but let's be facts. I'll say the unpopular opinion. 98.9% of the time, it's the man that's getting the shit into the stick of this. In today's society, it is.
Yeah.
And, they try and say that there's a cap where they can only take 18% of your wages. Okay, well, if a guy makes $3,500 a month, which is not horrible, but it's not great either, you're taking 18% of that. Well, they're not having the other person hold any financial responsibility for the other half. They're taking 18% per 10 times 3 ends up taking half of this person's paycheck, half of their money, half their ways of survival. Do what they should be doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying.
Yeah.
You have a situation where men specifically, but one person in that dynamic eats the shit sandwich, and the other person, usually wins out. And it's if it doesn't really matter. Like I just don't care outside of when individuals are being anti-women or anti-men. I don't really play the games too often of like women's oppression, men's oppression. I just don't think that way. But the truth is, like, absolutely, if you want to look at certain systems and say, well, they mostly affect this one gender, ergo they're anti that gender. If you're going to follow that line of thinking, then the custody world for sure is for the most part anti-male. And I don't believe that women. I believe that women are more manipulative. I believe that women. Well, no. I don't. Women are more talented at manipulating emotions directly than men are. Men are maybe better at manipulating self-esteem, or just straight up being an asshole or like overbearing. But anyways, I just think that there's a mixture of the system being able to be played a little bit, and then women being better at playing the system. Because I just don't believe that many men are consistently going to be the worst parent. I think there is an automatic, well, the woman is the right choice to get the kids, when in reality, like the man will be judged if he cannot pay for the kids, but the woman won't be judged if she can't pay for the kids. Like, it's the expectation that he would pay the assistance and support, and that she can just, make sure the kids are well fed and that it's all good. And there's not a lot of analysis about parenting done beyond that level. I think it's easy to just say, well, the woman's nicer, she's going to be sweeter and kinder to the children, so give them to her. But that's not necessarily always the best thing for children.
No, not at all. And I'm one of those rare cases where I didn't have to fight. It was just given to me, and that person never came around our lives. So I was very lucky and blessed in that, or I'd be another victim of that system. But that also brings me to, like, and it's not just family courts, like gender equality, whether it's male, female, whatever, is so far skewed and gone nowadays that everybody's fighting to be either the top dog or the alpha or better than one another, than trying to coexist and just be, whether it's good parents, good partners, whatever. It's such a competition between, oh, I'm the man, or I'm the bad bitch, or I'm a queen, or I'm a king. It's no longer a team, it's a competition. And that's what's mainly wrong with today's society. No one can work together. Well, there are cases where there is, where people can work together and stuff like that, but it's fewer and farther between nowadays. Everybody is striving to be at the top of the hill. Nobody wants to help build it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People want, people, like you said, feel entitled to the person that they want in their partner or whatever, but they're not willing to recognize. And I think my mom told me this, and then I heard it from a few different other sources in different ways. But basically, you need to grow to become the kind of person that will attract the kind of partner you want, instead of just saying you should go to the partner you want. That's considering value to the relationship. And like you said, it's a team thing. Are you bringing it from that angle, or are you just like, well, I'm just hot shit, and so they best appreciate what they got, whatever, and that's just not how it works. Relationships, the best relationships, I believe 100%, no questions asked. I'm with my soulmate. We've been together almost 6 years now, and we got together when I was relatively young. I'm very blessed in that regard, but it takes work, it takes intention, it takes constant reinvestment in the relationship, checking back in and getting back on the same page, having common values and a common vision for the future. And like that doesn't just fucking happen.
No, exactly. And I think the problem is today is everybody expects automatically to be given a certain level of access to people, or expect to be given a certain level or quality, but they're never willing to reciprocate. You know what I mean? And like I've been single a very long time, mainly by choice, because I've dealt with very shitty people in my life. It's not even that my standards are high, but the moment that your value of me falls below where I believe my standards lie, and we can't correct that, we no longer connect on a level that this can possibly work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what makes or breaks it for me. And then, to be real with you, like 90% of the women that are interested in talking to me have such skewed views compared to mine. Just about way back early, like I was raised by my grandparents, very different. I don't believe like there's man's work, there's woman's work. I mean, yes, there's stuff that are easier for each gender, but I believe in being a team. And now, if we had children, that team would be her help take care of the family if she wanted to, or work, whatever it is, and I would provide, or whatever the arrangement would be. But I think in today's day and age, everybody, whether it's materialistic items, emotions, love, whatever it is, everybody's about consumption and not about giving it. And that's a huge problem in today's society.
I mean, I 100% agree. I got nothing to add. Other than I would say for you on the individual level, without, I don't know anything about anything related to anything, but I would just say I broke up with many, many people about 2 months into our relationship, a month and a half. The longest relationship I had before this one was 2.5 months. Because when I hit that inflection point where I realized something about their character or the way they are that just would make the relationship not work, I called it off and I bailed. I wasn't going to waste my time in something that wasn't going to work. The point of being with someone is, I would assume, that you plan on it succeeding. Like you want it to last a long time. So if you realize it's not going to work out, it's best for both of you to deviate from that. And so I think making sure the person's bringing the same intent, same energy, same commitment, and they want the same things. Like, you're better off being single and waiting to find the right person than just trying to chase the relationship down however you can. And so I'm not even telling you to change anything. I'm just saying I think you're actually onto some wise shit.
Well, that's the problem, I think, with myself. Some days I wish I wasn't so fucking stubborn in my morals, because like me, I'm not dating just to, I've got this pretty woman on my arms. I get to have some. No, I'm dating to have a partner for the rest of my life. If I wanted to fucking kill time, I'd go walk around Bass Pro Shops for 3 hours and waste some fucking money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not about wasting, and I'm 40. Like, I'm not old. I'm not young. I'm like on that middle ground. From this point, it's all downhill from here. Like, I the most of my time. And granted, there's a little bit of superficialness in how I am, because I'm a humble person. I'm a very humble person. And cockiness just doesn't sit well with me a lot of the time. And I think that's one of my major issues. Like, the first sign of cockiness or kind of being snotty, I just don't tolerate it. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, whatever. Because that shows me that that's going to be a repetition from them. You know what I mean? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to date someone, be in a constant battle to be happy. Like, if I meet someone, I'm going to love you unconditionally. We won't agree all the time, but we'll find the amicable solution to everything. You know what I mean? And in today's society, no one's willing to get to that point to work through anything, because it's so easy to swipe right to the next fucking Chad or Kyle or other 25 guys you're snapping that day. And there's no staying power nowadays. Nobody has morals or commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot more rare than it used to be, especially with relationships and the way people treat others, what they expect out of themselves. I definitely, yeah, I mean, without getting into specifics, because I just don't want to talk about anyone that's been in my own life, but one person that I was with in my teen years had a moment of clear brattishness and being spoiled and being ungrateful for something that was like, should have been something that was, one of the girls I dated, I made them spaghetti and made it the way my family makes it, just because I thought it would be cool and I wanted to share that with them. And their response was that they had already eaten and they like spaghetti the way their family makes it. And like, it was a small thing along with about 2 or 3 other things and moments, but it just was like, it's just, that isn't who I want to, like, the kind of person that would react that way is not the kind of person I want to be with for the rest of my life. And it might seem like it's such a small instance, especially describing it out of context, but I feel like some people are better at reading other people and looking for the danger signs. And maybe what people can say accurately about me is I'm too on the lookout for those warning signs, maybe. But that has resulted in me being able to read a lot of people well and avoid a lot of crap
Exactly.
that I would have otherwise had to deal with if I had not listened to those instincts. So I think it's
Well, and a
important.
lot.
And just as a man to a man, I think you're on the right track, dude. I think you got the right perspective, and I could tell that you'll be thoughtful enough to not get caught into the obvious traps of looking for the perfect woman or looking for any of the other obvious things. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to just be like, you got it, but I think you got it.
Yeah, I don't say that very often either, so I understand. But yeah, and I don't see where you would say that would be small, because yes, it is such a small thing, but that definitely defines characteristics of a person that will be consistent throughout the entire relationship. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
might be something little in the beginning, but 2 years into the relationship, how's it going to be then? You know what I mean? When something
Yeah.
really got to you, that's when the true colors shine. And if those colors are shining that early and they're not very bright, that should go to speak wonders of who they are as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I totally agree. So what are some of your passions outside of TikToking and fishing?
I wouldn't say TikToking is a passion. It's more out of boredom. But
Mhm.
um, I'm a creator. I make things from the time I was little, growing up in the shop. I make things. I remodel houses. Like, I just finished, when I was here, I remodeled my aunt's entire bathroom, set up for um, old. She lives in St. Louis, so there's the subfloor before the basement, everything. I replaced the subfloor, all the sheetrock. I opened up her shower another 3 feet. Like, I did a bunch of work in there. I'm good with my hands. I make shit. I'm very meticulous when it comes to that stuff as an overachiever, but I pushed myself always to be that way. To me, even if something is perfect, it's not perfect. I can always do better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's business-wise has kept me going, being a perfectionist like that, because I'm always living outside of my comfort zone, always pushing for the next best thing. I've never stayed complacent. But yeah, I'm a builder. I like to build things. That's it. You name it. I've built it between houses, cars, computers. Like I'm very smart and articulate with those things.
Mm-hmm.
I also like nature a lot. Besides fishing, myself, I would rather be out 50 miles away from the nearest human being, walking around in the wilderness for hours by myself and just enjoying the quiet and my own company than anything. So people underestimate the power of nature. You could be having the worst day of your life, go take a 2-mile walk through a preserve or anything like that, and your entire day will be changed. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. I've always been well, first off, I was a car detailer of sorts for 3 years. So it was for Hertz rental car company. So it wasn't like detailing, but it was getting it ready for the next person. And I'm similar to you in that I wouldn't clean it halfway or leave little spots. Like I got to get it all clean. So I was a little slower, but way more precise than many of the other cleaners. But anyways, I was outdoors for 3 years straight, so I got I kind of got my dose of it. But my girlfriend worked at a call center place and was indoors most of the time. So at the end of the day, I'd want to talk because I hadn't talked to anyone all day, and she'd want to go chill and be outside in nature because she had been inside, having to talk to people all day. So we learned how to like mesh our, the ends of our days together where that happened. But I learned through her, not through me, that getting out into nature can be transformative in terms of your stress levels and in terms of just your alignment with the world. Almost like that's where we're supposed to be. That is our home. Our ancestral home is nature, and this is all sort of biologically out of our comfort zone, and that's the only time we really get back into it in a certain sense, in a good way.
Well,
And so
fishing is for me. It's not about the fish. Yes, I enjoy catching the fish. I enjoy fishing, but it's not about the fishing for me. It's about the peace of mind, the certainty, knowing that I can go out there, I can shut my phone off. Nobody's going to call me. Nobody's going to ask anything of me. I can just be alone with my thoughts and enjoy a few hours of just peace. And like I'm a Gemini, so I'm one of the few that are blessed with ADHD and able to literally shut my mind off like a PC. I'm not going to lie, when I'm out there and I'm fishing, I've fished for so long, it's repetitive. My mind literally boots down like Windows 94 and comes back up when I come back to the city. Like I don't think about
cool.
I don't do things. I literally am the most mindless I can be out there. And it's very healthy. I love it.
That's so cool. I am an Aries Taurus hybrid, and I can't do that for shit. I cannot. I can slowly I can dissipate my brain a little bit to where I can thin down the activity and limit the stimulus, but only to a certain degree. Like even when I'm I don't know, like I at some point I learned that it's not my nature to be able to shut it off like that, but through meditation and mainly meditation in the last 4 or 5 years, mostly the last 2.5, I've been able to learn how to quiet that mind and get rid of the cloud of extra thoughts and just sort of like learn how to be present. But for me, it takes like active meditation and like conscientious work to try to get to that state. It's definitely not automatic, but hey, I think that's cool. And what's cool is we all exist to be examples of what you could choose to try to be to each other. So like I listen to you and I see you describe that and I'm like, that's something I'm not very good at, but I'd like to be better at that, where I can just let the activity cease and try to learn to just shut it down and go and just be present and enjoy it. And like I said, I've been on that journey a little bit, but having someone who's just like, yeah, I can boot it down like Windows 95. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I want that for me. Some days, I got to be able to do that myself. I'm like the iPhone that can't be shut off. Even when you shut it off, it's still going.
Like, and I'll be honest, sometimes that isn't the best quality that I have, because there's days where I don't want to adult that day, and I'll be on the phone or I'll be talking to somebody and I'm just not there. Like, the wheels are spinning, I'm home, but I'm not there. I pay no attention. I give an automated answer and that's it. But then that's few and far between. But it's just, I think, well, you're still young too. You're what, 14, 15 years younger than me? Wait till you're
yeah, 27.
Wait till you're my age. You will have mastered the art of shutting off your mind. And people as a whole aren't super horrible or anything else, but everybody's so opinionated and things are so fucking crazy nowadays that I just generally dislike public, not people. I'll rephrase what I said. I dislike public as a whole. So that's why I go and venture out. But the older I get, the more I dislike being in public places, and the easier it is for me to just turn it off and tune out all the bullshit. And I think that might have been something I mastered over the span of 20 years. But, I mean, you could be on the right track. It's definitely something very nice, because there's like a certain point in the night, even if I'm sure you could tell watching some of my TikToks. Some of my TikToks, like, I'm there, I'm alive. Other times I'm just like a dummy sitting there just looking at the screen. Like, some days it's there. But, all right, man. Yeah, just get a hold of me whenever you want. We can set up and do another one or whatever. Maybe next time I'll do a little tour of the shop space or whatever.
Yeah, dude. That sounds awesome to me, man. I appreciate you coming on so much. I appreciate you sharing that thing, man. Like, you have 12-ish times the following I have on TikTok, and
Yep.
probably most of it's organic. So I appreciate you so much for sharing your stuff on there and for coming on here. And this has been a dope conversation, man. I've genuinely enjoyed it. I think you're an awesome guy. Like, I'm glad I got to know you. And I'm going to take one little moment of arrogance and just say I had a good feeling about you. That's why I reached out for the podcast. So I'm going to continue to pay attention to my instinct on that front, because it seems to be doing good so far. Yeah, man. And thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy your time with your family, and God bless you, brother.
Thank you, sir. I'll be talking to you soon. And I'll definitely, when you share this, let me know, and I'll post it up on my page so we can get you some more organic followers and shit as well. Because, I mean, you do amazing with what you do. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.